Ukraine's fighter pilots are significantly outmanned in their war against Russia. However, despite their relatively inferior military muscle, Ukrainian pilots have been renowned, thanks in part to the Ghost of Kyiv, an alleged flying ace. The pilot is currently a social media sensation and has received accolades for single-handedly taking down 6 Russian military jets. But does the Ghost of Kyiv exist? Ukraine has held off the Russian occupation and claims to have killed a large number of Russian troops. Ukraine is also alleged to have shot down other Russian planes during the fighting. According to intelligence sources, Russia had about 1,200 fighter planes before hostilities. Ukraine, on the other hand, had only 124. There is no official comment on the present situation and the number of aircraft on both sides. But so far, Moscow has deployed its air power with extreme caution, to the point where United States officials are perplexed as to why Russia is acting so cautiously. The Ghost of Kyiv is a story that gives the people of Ukraine strength and hope in these dark times. The military has put up a brave fight against the Russian invasion, and one outstanding fighter pilot has become a folk hero. The images, details, and identity of the pilot have not been confirmed, as available photos show a soldier in the cockpit of a jet fighter, face completely obscured by a black helmet and oxygen mask. Photos and videos that show the pilot in combat have been posted by the Defense Ministry, former Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko, and Kiev residents. Poroshenko, who served as Ukraine's president from 2014 to 2019, used Twitter to acknowledge the helmeted pilot in a cockpit as the Ghost of Kyiv. "With such strong defenders, Ukraine will win," Poroshenko tweeted. Earlier on, Ukraine's government also seemed to support the narrative. Through its official Twitter handle, the government said, "He's known as the Kiev Ghost, and rightly so. This UAF ace rules the skies over our city and nation and has just turned to invade Russian planes into a nightmare." The Ghost of Kyiv is believed to be an autonomous jet pilot fighting the Russian occupation of Ukraine. Some believe a MiG-29 fighter pilot, Major Stefan Tarabalka, 29, is the ace. However, according to the Ukrainian government, Tarabalka was killed in action on March 13th and was awarded the Hero of Ukraine medal. In a change of tune, the Air Force Command stated, "Tarabalka is not the Ghost of Kyiv, and he didn't shoot down 40 planes." Moreover, the Ghost of Kyiv is a superhero whose persona was invented by Ukrainians. It later released a statement and urged Ukrainians to verify information sources before spreading it. He advised them not to overlook the basic terms of information hygiene. Military experts have also weighed in on this notion, saying if he existed, the Ghost would have been the first ace pilot of the 21st century. An ace pilot is a fighter pilot who takes down 5 or more enemy combatants. The concept of the ace pilot was popular during the First World War. This name was given to highly successful pilots for morale and propaganda reasons. Becoming an ace is not easy. Jet combat is a dangerous mission that requires a lot of skill and courage, and sometimes luck. The Ghost of Kyiv has used the MiG-29 fighter jet to take down Russian planes. The Mikoyan MiG-29 is a fighter plane with a short-range capability. It was first manufactured in the 1970s and continued to be produced until 2013. Ukraine had roughly 80 MiG-29 jets in 2014. However, most of them were based in Crimea and were taken by Russia after the area was seized. Ukraine's air force has been greatly diminished. If military might is something to go by, the Russia vs. Ukraine war was not expected to last long. The Ukrainian military is much smaller, has less weaponry, and is less technologically advanced than Russia. However, the Ukrainian military has surprisingly managed to resist the Russian invasion in parts of Ukraine. Pilots attribute their progress to quick response to Russian VKS jets, preparedness, and courage. First, Ukraine has been agile and inventive with its air defenses, including a combination of decades-old S-300 long-range missile defense units, Turkish Bayraktar TB2 drones, and portable Stinger anti-aircraft missiles supplied by the United States. Experts say Ukraine's long-range anti-air weapons have prompted Russian pilots to fly lower to avoid those systems, but that put them in the scope of shoulder-fired missiles, such as the heat-seeking Stingers. Russian sorties have been limited due to the high losses incurred by these weapons. Second, despite only having roughly 55 operational fighter jets, Ukraine takes advantage of its home field advantage. We have been successful in the sky because they operate on our ground, says Yuri Inat, a spokesman for the Ukrainian Air Force. When an enemy plane flies into our airspace, it flies right into the range of our air defense systems. Even though Russia has full air superiority, they have incurred many losses. Thirdly, in the 8 years since Russia seized Crimea and infiltrated Ukraine's eastern Donbas territory, Ukraine has developed various defensive strategies. Ukraine's air defense has benefited from new combat techniques adopted by the military as it's reorientated toward NATO and ditched its Soviet-era centralized leadership. Ukraine's air force is vastly outmanned, but its jets can take off from partially wrecked runways or even highways, forcing fighter jet pilots to rely solely on their skills. My abilities are superior to those of the Russians. However, many of my comrades, including those with more experience than me, are already dead, Andrei, a pilot, stated. Even though there is no substantial evidence that proves the existence of an ace pilot in the Ukrainian Air Force, it is crystal clear that there have been some brave actions by the Ukrainian military to defend their territory against their more superior and sophisticated enemy. In this regard, the Ghost of Kyiv might be the symbol of the resilience and bravery of the Ukrainian army in defending their territory in the ongoing war. If you like this video, let us know your thoughts in the comments section. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for a more in-depth analysis of the Russia vs. Ukraine war.